Hello, my name is Josh, and these are my colleagues, and we did a book report on Inherent the Wind by Jerome Lawrence and Robert Lee. These are their names.
I'm Alicia.
I'm Carissa.
And I'm Sam.
So let's start talking about the book. So Alicia, what are you going to say about the book? What's your take of the book?
I'm going to talk about the characters, and I'm just going to give a brief description of each character. The main characters are Kate, Brady, Drummond, and Hornbeck, and the defendant, Kate, is a science teacher and an evolutionist who talks about evolution even though it's against the law. Rachel Brown is the Reverend's daughter and Kate's colleague who likes him. She's kind of stuck between two worlds and doesn't really know what to do because the crush is an evolutionist and her father's a reverend. Brady is a 3-time loser for president and a fundamentalist who eats too much. Drummond is a lawyer from Chicago who is all about human progress and freedom of thought. The judge is the judge of the trial, of course, and he always takes Brady's side, and he makes the case very hard for Drummond. The Reverend is Rachel's dad, and he disapproves of Kate's. Hornbeck is a journalist who portrays Kate's as a hero. Davenport is a local ADA who assists Brady with the trial, and he does a very poor job. He tries to stop Brady from humiliating himself, but is very unsuccessful. And the mayor names Brady as a military colonel and adores Brady, and he believes him no matter what he says.
Okay, so Sam, what do you have to say?
Well, I'm going to discuss the plot of the story. And the story starts off by this little child who starts to explain to this other girl that we all came from worms on the planet. And very funny, actually. And she starts off saying, no, that we didn't. But the child insists that we actually did. And she runs off, going to tell on the child about what he exclaimed. And so the story takes place in 1920s Tennessee and deep in the South. And Bertram Cates is in prison because he has taught the theory of evolution, Darwin's theory, to his sophomore high school class. And he's not a criminal by nature, but there's a law in his state where you cannot teach this theory of evolution because they believe in religion and how the Bible states where humans came from. And so Rachel, his colleague at his high school, comes by and tells him to plead guilty to what he has done and not let this go to trial. He says he's going to stick up for what he believes in. And as the story goes on, this court trial attracts many types of people, like journalists like Hornbeck and very, very big figures like Brady. So everyone from around the nation is looking at this as well. So as the story goes on, the judge and other people of the courthouse start to select a jury, and the jury is very biased, well, in some ways, because one of the main people that they pick out is an illiterate man who only goes to church on Sundays and does not know how to read, obviously, so he's never read Darwin's theory. And so others include people of a man that has his wife take over the church all of the religious matters for his whole family while he works. And after that, after the whole jury is selected, there are many, as Brady starts to question his people, as he calls them up to the stand, he asks them questions. As Drummond, Kate's lawyer, he starts to ask questions, but the judge starts telling him that they are not good questions and he should not be asking them. So it seems very biased, obviously, because the judge thinks one thing, that the religion should be the highest thing rather than the science and evolution. So the story goes on, and obviously, by the law of the land, Cates is guilty of the crime of teaching evolution to his students. And it was very interesting because Cates stuck to his ground, stuck to his beliefs, rather than giving in to what he was probably brought up to be and what everyone around him has been brought up to be too. So that's a lot of the story.
All right, thank you, Sam. Carissa, what's your take on the book?
I did the conflicts for the book. The major one is Kate versus the community. He's been arrested because he's teaching evolution to his students, and that's outlawed in the community, and people are against that and against him and want him to go to jail. But he didn't really do anything wrong. He's just trying to educate his students. Another one was Brady versus Drummond. They used to be friends apparently, like way back then, until later on their views changed and they were opposite to each other, and they're against each other in this court case. So, going against each other. And then Rachel versus her father. Rachel, she loves Cades. She wants to marry him and have a life with him, but her father absolutely hates him for what he's done, and that's like a big impact on her because it's her father.
All right. So I did the theme, and I think the big theme in this book is the man versus the world. Bertram is put in jail for teaching his beliefs in America, which is a free country. So it's basically him versus everybody in this town, which is 1920s Tennessee. It's pretty rural. They're pretty religious people, so they don't really want to adapt to his new way of thinking with Darwin's theory of evolution. That would be my big theme for this book, and it just starts a big commotion in the town. A lot of his friends and family, stuff like that. It's a big conflict. Sam, what's your question to ask us?
Well, let's start off with Carissa's question first, because then it will lead into mine and Alicia's.
That's a good point.
So my question from the book was, why does Brady refer to his wife as mother? I found that very weird. Throughout the whole book, he refers to her as mother.
Well, one thing I think as to why he refers to her as mother, which I picked up on as well, is that it might be just a habit that he has to the highest female in the household, which is usually the mother. So he might be just referring to his wife as mother for most of the time. I mean, that's something I was just thinking about as I read it.
I also noticed, but I disagree that it could just be kind of a habit, because it's really strange to call your wife mother. I don't really have a theory about why he would do that. I think that sometimes it is appropriate, if she's kind of mothering him and he's saying it sarcastically, but he says it all the time and he's not always being mothered by her.
Does he have children? Did it say that?
It did not say if he had children, but I didn't think he did.
Yeah, so it does seem kind of...
Even still, it's a little odd to be calling your spouse mom. So
what I figured is that he acts like a child a lot throughout the book, especially when people aren't listening to him, and his wife is very mothering towards him.
Yeah.
It's really annoying.
It's a good point.
All right. Well, it's my turn for a question. So, what did you guys think are the major motifs of this novel?
I thought that one theme was obviously evolution versus Bible, because that's what the entire trial is about, and there are laws against believing in stuff which is not an okay thing.
Well, one motif that I thought of was the conflict between government and religion, which was something that we wanted to keep separated ever since our beginning in our country. And there was obviously a big conflict because they made a law that you couldn't teach science and you had to teach religion rather than finding a happy medium in that situation. So I just thought that was a big theme throughout the whole trial and the whole play.
You just said that we've tried to keep religion separate from government, which I agree that we have said that we have tried, but how hard have we really tried, even on our money and in our national, and not in our national anthem, but in our Pledge of Allegiance, both of them refer to a God. What if you're atheist? Then you don't believe in one.
I think back when they created these everything that they created, it wasn't really an option to not believe in God. So now in 19, believe in whatever you want to believe in, which these other guys didn't have. I mean, their ancestors left Great Britain for being Puritans, and that's probably one of the most extreme Christianity religious groups you can be in. So they were just raised knowing that there's only one God, all that. Whereas Bertram, I mean, he's got the idea in the 1920s that maybe there isn't a God, maybe it's evolution. So I think that's a major part of that. Alicia,
Do you have anything to say to that? No.
all right.
No, Alicia, I just believe that what I meant in the government and religion thing, not to get it intervened within the jury trials or selecting senators, governors, or presidents or something like to that extent, rather than our anthems or our currency.
That's true.
For my question, I wanted to know what you thought of the Bible, if you have any experience with it, and what you thought of evolution, if you have any experience with it.
Too
Would
contradictory.
you like to take that?
They're very contradictory, but what do you think of them individually? What do you think of the Bible? What do you think of evolution?
I've never read the Bible.
My personal experience, I mean, I'm an active Christian. I go to church almost every Sunday. I do believe in God. Evolution, I think it's a great concept. I've always been taught, God and all that, but I think evolution is a possibility. I think everything's a possibility. I mean, I don't know anybody personally that was there when it was all created, so it really just nobody really knows. So it's kind of what you want to believe in.
And I think that religion, any type of religion, whether it be Christianity, Judaism, anything else, can coexist with science in any shape. But many religious people tend to disregard that idea. But I think it could be possible. Like now, in our public schools, we teach science. We teach theory of evolution. So we have made progress throughout teaching religion to teaching science as well. And you have that choice too.
I think the structure and the strength in the religious system, and the belief in the United States lately has declined because of all the different options people have. Back then, people didn't have that many options. It was Christianity or nothing. So that's definitely something right there.
True. I kind of agree with Sam that I think that religion and evolution can coexist. It depends on how literally you take the Bible, because if you take it word for word, then it can't exist. But if you only take it as a general glimpse of how religion came to be, then it does coexist.
I don't think anybody can be really anti-religious. The Bible says, you shouldn't kill, you shouldn't steal. These are pretty basic moral concepts that I think everybody should have. That's just kind of.
There are things that people can't agree with in religions, but there's also things that they can. For example, right now we're all breaking laws of the Bible because we're wearing two different types of clothes right now, two different types of cloth. That's a law in the Bible. It depends on how literally you take it.
True. Points.
All right, Sam, what's your question to ask us?
Well, shouldn't Alicia go because we discussed that?
I just went.
Oh, you did? Oh, I'm sorry. But what was really interesting to me is, what do you guys think about the verdict after the trial has ended of him being guilty?
It wasn't surprising. I mean, most of the people were against him, so it wasn't surprising that he would be found guilty.
But you wouldn't go with the idea of having his own beliefs and being able to teach his students, but he wanted to?
I wouldn't go against that. He should be able to teach them and give them more knowledge alongside what they already know.
Even though a law is a law and he must follow it.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think, Josh?
I personally, I agree with him being guilty because, you know, the school department didn't hire him to teach his ideas. They hired him to teach what their, you know, his job is to teach what they say to teach. Just like in modern times, teachers aren't supposed to interfere with politics and such, and, you know, push us one way or the other. So I think he was trying to push them towards the evolution theory instead of the religious theory, which is okay, but in the 1920s South, it's not going to fly. So
I agree with Josh that you shouldn't be teaching your own opinions, but also you shouldn't be teaching someone else's either. Like, I don't think you should be teaching that, I don't know, something that's completely irrelevant to actual, like, proven knowledge. Like, if you thought that the sun was actually a huge skittle in the sky, I don't think you should be teaching that. But I don't think you should be teaching it if the government thinks that either. Because, like, there's a certain bound that it's just not something that you should be teaching. Or if a majority of people do believe that the sun is a giant skittle in the sky for some reason, you should at least teach that there are other theories. Like, with the evolution versus religion, I think that they should teach both. Or, like how they do it now, where in 7th grade we learned about Catholicism, Judaism, Muslim, and all of these other religions, Buddhism.
Yep.
Let people know.
Yes.
Yeah, they said when one of the students went up for the trial, Kate said he wanted him to say what the student believed, whether if he believed in evolution or religion. So that's something that gets your mind going about it. And you think about it, like, he should have his own right to think what he wants. If he wants to stick with his parents have taught him and what the church has taught him, that's fine. If he wants to go off into a new route of evolution, that's fine too. You should respect him.
Yeah.
all right, so this is our take on Inherit the Wind by Jerome Lawrence and Robert E. Lee. Thank you very much for watching. Have a nice day.